Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. I'm apologizing this is a little bit late. I've already recorded it once, but Facebook didn't start up correctly, so here goes the second shot. I've just finished reading the latest John Grisham novel entitled The Exchange. I'm not giving anything away to tell you that one of the major plot lines involves a terrorist organization that holds someone hostage. At one point, the person reflects on her imprisonment and how her time was empty, that she had no books, no windows to look out of, no people to talk to, nothing to distract her or with which to while away the hours. She sensed this to be the worst part of being held hostage. That's probably not hard for us to imagine. Few of us might have spent time in prison, but it's not hard for us to imagine unending, empty time. And we can imagine the boredom, the struggle as we have nothing at all to do but wait and wait and wait until the time is complete. Maybe the psalmist had something like that in mind when he wrote Psalm 27. In verse 14 he says, "Wait for the Lord. Be strong, and let your heart take refuge. Take courage. Wait for the Lord." I think in that situation, we would need to be encouraged. We would need to be strong and to strengthen our hearts with courage to face the waiting. And I think the psalmist is reminding us that in those times we are not forsaken. God is and always will be with us. During Advent this year, I'm taking us on a journey through the Bible, looking first at verses about waiting and then at Bible people who experienced that waiting firsthand. Today, we want to consider Joseph. Joseph has a fascinating story at the end of Genesis. In fact, there's a lot of New Testament type forgiveness and grace to be found in this early Old Testament story. And Joseph's story is familiar to us. Joseph dreamed that his brothers would bow down to him, even though he was the youngest at that time, and this irritated them so much that they sought to get rid of him by killing him. Then, when they did have the chance to kill him, suddenly an opportunity arose to sell their brother into slavery in Egypt instead. They would get rid of him and have some coins in their pocket to boot. What must Joseph have experienced on that journey to Egypt, devastated by the betrayal from his brothers and wondering what awaited him in Egypt? Waiting through those miles must have been hard. When he got to Egypt, he was sold to a man named Potiphar, and Joseph did so well that soon he was entrusted with running the whole house. But Mrs. Potiphar set her eyes on Joseph, and when he rebuffed her advances, she accused him of attacking her. These accusations were false, but what standing does a slave have against a respected woman of society? Joseph was thrown in jail. And there he whiled away the empty hours. He had fallen about as far as one can fall, betrayed by his own brothers, made a slave, falsely accused, thrown in prison. It must have seemed to him that God had forsaken him. And yet somehow there in prison, Joseph let his heart take courage as he waited on the Lord. Somehow Joseph remained strong in his faith, trusting that God was at work on his behalf. And eventually Joseph's God-given ability to interpret dreams led him to the Pharaoh himself, and that led to him being put over the whole country, second only to the Pharaoh himself. And later on in the story, those brothers who scorned him years before finally came and bowed down before him just as he had dreamed. The thing is, this last part happened in the face of a severe famine. Joseph saw all that had happened to him while he waited and saw that it had a purpose. God sent me here to preserve life, he told his brothers. Waiting can seem like such dead, empty time. Waiting on the Lord leads to life. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.